What's up, guys? Welcome back to the ranch. So that's my tree stand, and I'm standing on the road, and I'm about 13 yards to the road into my woods along the thick edge here. And I want the deer to stop right here. And how am I going to do that? We're going to put in a mock scrape. And what do you need to do such a thing? A stick about 3 feet long and some paracord. And lastly, a little bit of ingenuity of where in that deer trail that you want that deer to stop. All right, guys, let's dive into it. And you just saw that stick, and what we want to do is we want to take an area with an overhanging branch and hang that stick to it. And we're going to clear out all the leaf debris right here and make that scraping activity where the deer would scrape out all the leaves here and make a big 2.5 foot radius circle down to the dirt. And you're going to hang this stick above the top of it. So now let's dive into that. All right, so you see my stick, it's about 3 feet long and it has the string around it already. I usually like to cut something that's about just enough, thick enough that I really could hold onto it, a little thicker than a broom handle. Think about that size. I also like to take it right at a V, because when I make this rope, that V is going to allow the rope not to slip up off the stick. It gets fatter, so my knot, if it's not perfect Boy Scout, Eagle Scout knot, I got something that's going to hold this on. Plus, I'm expecting a buck to really smash into this with their head and really get wild with it, so I want to make sure it stays. Now we're going to hang this dangling right about nose level, just like this, to the deer. So that means when I stand up, you want it kind of down in this waist area, so when they walk into this, they touch and rub on this. We're going to come over to my overhead hanging stick here, and we want it to stop right on this spot right here. And you want to point this branch right at where your tree stand is. So you want it pointed directly at it, so when they come on this, they stop kind of broadside at you. And that's the way to do it. Now this is a very small branch, so the weight of this giant stick is going to hold my branch into position. This is very small, so you could do this with a thicker branch, but you're going to need more string and hang it lower, like kind of like that. But I know the weight of this is going to pull this down right into position. So let's tie this up. I'm using that V right there, and I'm going to feed that V right in to the top of the tree. So let me show you a little closer on this. So when I pull it down, I'm feeding that V right into that. And now I'm going to rope this up right around there and let that hold and do its thing right on the road. All right, let me do that for you now. So by using that V like that, you're really holding this into place, and you're really putting the weight on that V to like really keep the stick from moving out of place, which is really nice because you're expecting some deer to really rub in on this. And I'm just going around the sapling kind of like you would tie off a boat, I guess, I don't know, on a cleat. And then I'm going to knot it, and this should stay right here and be exactly in the position I want it. So now this is like exactly what I said. The deer can come and put their nose right on this. I want to clean it up just a little bit to make it just slightly more obvious that the stick is there. But I'm not going to take too much of the integrity of this branch away, because as I do that, I'm going to remove some weight and this is going to come up. Plus, deer will do this naturally on this kind of a setting to begin with, so I don't need much more than this. I gave them the tools that they're going to need to be excited to touch this licking branch right here like I want them to. And it's very natural. It's hanging right over my walkway. They have some leaves. They feel like this is a natural thing. Plus the integrity of this tree is still good. This tree is still gonna survive and live just like this. So this is a perfect hanging branch, licking branch. And now we need to move into phase 2, which is clearing the ground below this. All right, so here's the base of our stick, and here is what's below that stick. And we need to clear that out in like a 3-foot circle. Now, a rake would be optimal. I would not suggest using your boots if it's immediately by the season, like it is for me, which is only 2 weeks away. I'm doing these last minute details for myself. So what I usually recommend is, I get a little caveman-esque, and I just get another stick, and I do essentially what the deer would do when they pick this spot, is I'm gonna scrape out all the leaves and debris, and we wanna make a nice dark colored circle, about 2.5 feet in diameter, and as black, clean dirt as possible. And I always, which sounds kind of weird maybe, think of myself as a deer when I do this, and how I want the deer to kick and totally work this out. As he would want to, putting those cues out to the other deer as they mark. So I backed up a little bit, and you could see the base of our licking branch and what I'm working here in the ground. And I want to try to get this really nice and clean, really nice and soft dirt looking. And I try not to use my hands or my boots of my own, because I don't want to put too much of my own smell in here. But I want to get this really nice and really earthy looking. So anyway, you have to use your hands. I mean, but the idea is you want to try to leave as little as possible in this. No leaves, no rocks, just a nice, perfect black circle. Now, we don't know exactly how the deer see, but there is something about this visual cue that makes them stop and makes them check it out. So there you go, 2.5 feet. There's nothing in there, and there's my licking branch. And now, if he stops and touches this with his nose, boom, tree stand. Perfect. All right, so we're all set up here. And you're saying, well, what makes the deer stop here? And why do they do what they do here? Well, this is a little bit of kind of checking in and marking their territory, and almost think of it as making a Facebook post or a tweet. They check in and they say what's going on, and they communicate each other with these licking branches and mock scrapes here. So what happens is everybody comes in and checks in, and you get them to stop here, and they all check in. The trick though is we've created the visual cue. Usually there's a little bit of scent. How do we start activating this for the deer so that they want to check in? Well, I did say this was a poor man using a stick and a little bit of string. The final ingredient is a little, you know, censor-esque, little X-rated maybe. You're gonna pee in this. That is the cheapest, poorest man way of getting this done. So, fortunately enough, I drank a lot of water, and I'm gonna activate this. I'm gonna stop the video here, just let it cut, but use your imagination. So our mock scrape is all set. We've activated it now with our fancy poor man solution, let's just say, on the ground. But what about our stick? We did touch it. We did handle it with our human scent. So what I've come with over the year, which I've heard is not even a necessity, but I take a little bit of doe and estrus. I mean, it's a little early for the rut, but I'm just gonna hit this a little bit, just once, without stepping in what we just did. A couple of sprays to cover up my human scent and officially activate this. Now what happens is, after the first deer really works this and rubs all their head glands on this, never touch it again. Unless it really needs to be maintained because it falls, the string breaks, it needs to be adjusted. But once they activate it, it's now in the deer hands. It's become, to use my analogy again, a social media posting site. And they're gonna come here and they're gonna post and keep putting their updates on it. And you don't wanna add to that. And that's my complete guide to a mock scrape. All right, guys, try this out if you haven't. I can't speak more highly enough. I've seen it work so many countless times, and it'd be very effective to get that deer to stop in the middle of their trail exactly where you want them to stop so you can make that shot. It'll give you a lot of time, whether it's a doe or a buck. Most deer will check this out for a little bit. And that's what makes this a great addition to your little hunting area. Try it out. This is a mock scrape. Thanks for watching.